You'll see like different updates come out, and I'm like, oh, y'all totally got that feature from this other DAW.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and at this point, it's like, it really
Studio
is.
One is a blend of everything. It's
right,
like,
right.
It's like, what? All right, guys. Thanks for joining us today on the Elation podcast, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. We're here with Diego Pinzon and Mandy Ortiz. How are you guys?
Good. What's going on, yo?
Good. Good to see you. Good to have you here.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about all kinds of stuff, but let's just start where both of you guys are from and a little bit of origin story, and we'll go from there.
Sure.
So
My name's Diego. I'm originally born in Colombia, Bogota, but moved to New Jersey when I was 1, so fully raised in the States, and then came down to New Orleans going on 7 or 8 years now. Really loved music my whole life, was a drummer, played jazz. Obviously, New Orleans is a great city for that.
Right.
So came down to go to Tulane, studied computational engineering. And yeah, now obviously...
Did you just randomly pick up jazz, or...?
Honestly, it was... I was doing like pretty much anything and everything that I could music-wise, like concert band, marching band. And so jazz band was just one of those things in middle school and high school.
Gotcha.
And I wouldn't say it was like... I loved jazz more than I loved other things. It was just clear to me that New Orleans was a great city to be in for playing,
Gotcha.
and I already had an experience with jazz.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what about you?
Yeah, well, I'm Mandy. I'm originally from Chicago, Humboldt Park area, so that's where all the Puerto Ricans live. And yeah, went to school in Minnesota, actually, so not in New Orleans. Went to a school called McAllister, small liberal arts. So studied political science, international relations, Portuguese, the classic.
Gotcha.
Came to New Orleans on a whim to visit a friend I had met abroad, and been here ever since.
Awesome. Yeah. So do you say soda or pop?
Oh, okay. So I think pop is like the classic kind of Chicago thing, but with my family, it'd be soda.
It'd be soda, right?
So it's we just say soda, you know? So I'm not the Midwest dialect.
You didn't involve that.
Yeah.
That's funny. It's always a debate every time I meet somebody.
Yeah.
But that's awesome. Well, what brought you guys together?
Yeah, so I was here studying at Tulane. It was senior year, and Mandy came to visit a mutual friend. And so, yeah, we kind of ended up meeting each other through that. It was just funny, like, she was supposed to be here for a week or two, and then, like, 2-3 weeks later, was still coming around hanging out. I was like, not to be rude, but, like, didn't you have a flight last Sunday? And she's like, yeah, I pushed it. And then, one thing led to another, and
still here.
As New Orleans does,
yeah. New Orleans will do that to you. It'll kind of grab you.
It will. You know, I heard New Orleans picks the people they want here, so I feel firmly selected.
Firmly selected. That's awesome. And I do believe that our culture and our energy creeps into people, and they just can't get rid of it.
100%.
What brought you to New Orleans originally?
Yeah, so I studied abroad in Brazil, the Portuguese, and
tough language.
It's like with this weird French, Italian, all the Romance languages mixed together, and when you speak Spanish, it's a little like odd
right.
feeling.
Right.
But Brazil is beautiful. The people are wonderful, so it makes it worth it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, basically came to visit a friend that I met through my abroad program. Was supposed to be here just for a week, but again, I was studying in Minnesota. Minnesota snows through April. Rather be here in April than Minnesota.
Yeah, I can see that. I could definitely see that.
So that kind of kept me around, and then went back to graduate, then came back here, just supposed to be for the summer, and kind of stuck around. Was working an advertising job at the time, but saw the cool stuff that was going on with DAWs, so I was doing some consulting work with them, and then just quit my full-time job, stayed here, and continued doing work with DAWs.
That's awesome. Yeah, my family kind of landed, part of my mom's side of the family just landed here randomly too. My grandfather was in the Navy, and his Navy boat docked here when he was 19. Met a woman from the 11th floor and never left. So, and here I am.
Right. And that's me.
So New Orleans would do that to you. Well, tell me a little bit about Dawn and what you're doing, what you're putting together.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, my whole life I've been playing music. Got into music production while I was at Tulane, and really initially started realizing that there was a huge issue for producers. I would be in the same exact room as my friends trying to make music, and because they were using one type of software and I was using a different type of software, we couldn't work together. And I was like, we're 5 feet apart from each other. Like,
Right.
how is it that we can't actually make music together?
Right.
Um,
Because all the DAWs are different.
Right.
They're all a little different looking video games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And like a lot of it is like, I think people will get into debates like, oh, this one's better, this one's better. It's like it's really a workflow thing. And that's what I was running into was I didn't want to go through the hassle of, it would take me 10 minutes to do something in their DAW that it would take me 5 seconds to do in my DAW because I
Right.
knew how I was working.
Well,
right?
especially nowadays, because I felt like when they were all starting to come up, they were all trying to copy Pro Tools' algorithm. So everybody felt like Fruit Loops was great with drums, but not necessarily good with anything else. So that's kind of where that algorithm started. And then, Logic came in, and when I was using Logic, I always felt like it was way more digital sounding than a Pro Tools session. Ableton came in and kind of got a good broad spectrum of everything, but still wasn't quite as good as Pro Tools. So you were still mixing in Pro Tools.
Right.
Now everything is the algorithms are so close.
Yeah.
That it's basically the same.
No, literally, yeah, and like,
bounce out.
yeah, and you'll see like different updates come out, and I'm like, oh, y'all totally got that feature from this other DAW.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and at this point, it's like it really
Studio
is.
One is a blend of everything. It's
Right.
It's like
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
But like Ableton, like it's also a different mind frame. I feel like just like a video game. Like some people are good at different video games than others, and like Ableton is when I look at it, it's like what? Like I don't even know. I don't know where to drag what.
Right.
Reason's the same way.
Yeah.
So, but that being said, it definitely is. It's hard to work because I know my command controls for Logic
Right.
and for Pro Tools, but if I go to Ableton or Fruity Loops, I'm slow and I don't know what I'm doing
No.
or what button to click. Or any of that stuff.
Yeah, no, and literally even because I started off with Logic and then switched to Ableton because I do a lot of like sampling, like love Ableton for that, and sometimes now if I have to go back to Logic, I'm like lost,
Right.
even though like I came up using that, but I'm already like, wait, this isn't the key command. That's not what I'm trying to do. How do I? And yeah. So we really kind of set out to initially tackle that issue. It was the idea that okay, these tools are incredibly powerful. Like they are allowing me as a drummer to now have the opportunity to make a whole song, make a whole production, where I before would have had to have learned however many instruments, arrangement, like all of these things, right? But yet in the ways that the tools are incredibly powerful, they're actually also getting in the way in terms of this actually being a social, collaborative, multiplayer experience, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, we initially set out to kind of tackle that collaboration issue, gone through a number of evolutions I'm sure we'll kind of touch on, but like really where we're at now is like I love that game kind of analogy because that's exactly where we sit, right? Is really understanding that, okay, these tools are great engines, but there's no engagement layer or game that exists around them. So there's no structure, there's no like, oh, cool, like I could be making music every single day for 5 years, but the only way I feel like I'm making progress is if I do things that have nothing to do with my music making, right? Like if I'm promoting my songs, if I'm gaining a following, all these things, there's no real way for me to measure my progress in terms of my music making. And that's where we really want to exist now is these tools are great engines. Now let's build a game on top of that engine.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, and I've always thought that it's, especially as it got more digital in the music production age, that it's very video game-esque. And I actually years ago had thought when they were doing Guitar Hero, why aren't they doing that basically format for real instruments and allowing people to randomly link up with people around the world and play music together,
Right.
and hit record.
Right.
Like it would be amazing. You would get all kinds of crazy, things going on, and it would also create real music, real art, and teach kids to move that into a real job instead of just playing a video game.
Right.
So I always felt like it should be there somewhere. So it's very similar, actually.
Yeah, no, 100%. And yeah, because even to that point, right? Like I think I played this game called like Rocksmith. That was that type of idea. It was like you could plug your guitar into your Xbox or whatever, and it would kind of start to actually teach you to play guitar. But it was still a very
But you couldn't play with people.
Exactly. It was a single player experience,
Right.
And like that's what I always felt coming from playing live and marching band, concert band, like all these things that were always social. Like
Right.
I really rarely played by myself.
Right.
And then moving into production, I was like, wait, this is incredibly powerful for me. But there's that divide of like, this is really powerful for single player.
Right.
There is no real multiplayer expansion on the digital production side of things. Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is your role with Dawn?
Yeah, so a lot of what I do with Dawn is kind of that community building aspect. So
Okay.
part of the in-person activations that we do, but really kind of ideating what does it look like to build a network behind these producers. And so we've pivoted recently, like Diego was just talking about, of focusing less on this plugin that enables this live cross-DAW collaboration for experienced users, and more so trying to create an experience that brings in this new wave of emerging artists and creators that are probably coming from more live kind of context settings. Diego did band, I sang growing up,
Right.
and then opening up these new pathways for them to explore what does it look like to make that digital. So you see these top DAWs like FL, for example, having over 30,000 downloads per day,
Right.
right? And most of those are coming from users under 20 years old.
But yeah, absolutely. We
You
all
know,
had the cracked
we all,
Yeah,
download
yeah.
demo. That's how we all started.
Exactly.
Fruit Loops, that's how we all
You
started.
know?
We cracked that hell out of it.
Exactly.
I'm definitely guilty of that.
Yeah, but I couldn't get past an 8-bar loop. I'll tell you that much. That took me a long time to figure out how to get that.
Right.
You know, but yes.
Right. Yeah. And so what we're seeing is all of these young people interested in kind of exploring this journey, but having this blocker that's really enabling them to build a craft behind it. And so that's what we're trying to do with this network piece of just connecting early new users to each other so that way they can learn collectively together, but then also offer them alternative ways of learning through master classes from maybe people who aren't experts in the industry, but are getting up there and have knowledge that they can still share with other people.
I got you.
And so that's what a lot of my work revolves around, of just bringing folks into the network, creating partnerships with communities and different companies that align with our brand ideology and what we're trying to accomplish, focusing more on the creative process rather than just kind of the output.
I got you. And how many users do you guys have?
So
Yeah.
right now in our Discord we have like just over 200 members.
Okay.
And then month to month we run these kind of seasons, we call them. And so like kind of I would say 20 to 30 or so members that are actively engaging each month in the different challenges, competitions, and things that we're growing.
Okay, awesome. Well, that's awesome, man. It's growing. I mean, it's definitely a useful tool, you know, to be able to. It's almost like a translator in a sense, being able to communicate with somebody who doesn't speak your language.
Yeah.
You know, it's a good translator for music.
Yeah.
Where do you see the community building taking you? Do you feel like it's taking you more in a school type of setting or
Yeah.
master class type of setting?
Yeah, I think there's definitely a mix. So we intentionally try to work with universities and students. So we have a student ambassador program and a fellowship that we run through different universities out of here, and then have some ambassadors from the Midwest, some from the East Coast, but really just trying to build also this DAW network across different universities. Those are hotbeds for aspiring professionals. And so really just trying to leverage their passion for music and our resources to help them get better at what they do. But outside of that, also working with kind of a lot of grassroots organizations. So I lead a coalition with different grassroots orgs from different cities that kind of come together and just talk about what are the problems that we're seeing a typical normal artist facing,
Right.
and how can we leverage and pull our resources together to kind of help streamline accessibility to just DAWs, but also the industry itself. And so that has led us to do some really cool work, some in-person producer camps. Last summer, we launched our first cross-state producer camp.
Okay.
And we're hosting our second one this August, which we're really excited about. And so, yeah, I think organic opportunities, just finding where people are inspired and excited about music and just meeting them where they're at.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if you're doing any videoing or documentary of some of the, you know, if somebody's in Japan using your software with Logic and somebody's here in the States using Ableton and they're working together type of situation and shooting from both sides.
Yeah, that's some of what we really want to, like when we did the cross-state camp last year, we were able to put together, just like some footage and content around. We had some producers here in New Orleans, had some up in New Jersey, And just showing that,
You know, it would
like,
actually be cool if you streamed that on like a Twitch or something.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Definitely looking for that this August.
Right? Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like that would be a um, cool thing to watch.
yeah,
You know,
right.
not only the creation process, but watching people engage in that type of setting.
Yeah, because it's funny. You'll see a lot of like content now, and it's like it's totally kind of fake, but it's playing into it of the whole like, oh, if DAWs were multiplayer, and it'll be people like pretending like they're in a video game lobby, but
Right.
it's an FL project or something, right?
Right.
But I think like leaning into that kind of like like really making this feel like it's the same way you would log onto an Xbox and join whatever a COD lobby or whatever that looks like,
Right.
and start playing with friends, like kind of really trying to communicate that through through streaming, what that process could look like, I think.
Awesome. So is Dawn a plugin or is it a website that you sign into, and how does that work?
Yeah, so so DAWN stands for DAW Network. So really, we host our network or a community off of Discord. Our plugin is a tool or a feature within that.
Gotcha.
Right. And so everything connects through our Discord. That's where you create an account. That's where you meet collaborators. That's where you would create a studio. And then really our biggest kind of flagship feature now is a bot that we have called Chef. And so Chef connects to the Discord, connects to your plugin, and basically becomes your personalized kind of coach, where he's able to track streaks, see what your music making habits are, help you build consistency, gives you personalized challenges, and then starts rewarding you for doing things, right? So if you complete challenges, giving you XPs, leveling you up, giving you rewards. But that experience is bridged between the Discord and the DAW, which is where we really see ourselves like differentiating. There's thousands of Discord communities for producers. There's obviously thousands of plugins.
Right.
No one really bridges the like tech and community side of things.
Right.
And so we really see ourselves kind of sitting in that, where we have the tech background, we have the tech developed, but we also really want to focus on growing the community.
Gotcha. Awesome. You should create your own coin too. Start having
Yeah,
start trading back
honestly,
and
with
forth
the
between
token, right?
producers.
Exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
You definitely got some movement there.
Yeah,
for sure.
that could be.
Where do you see the future? Where, if you would to say 5 years out, where do you want Dawn to be?
I mean, also, and would love to also hear your answer, but like, I think really wanting it to feel like it. So I played a lot of video games growing up, and that was a space where even if I didn't know what I wanted to play, I knew that I could log on and there would be friends online. There was going to be something. And so a lot of times Friday night, it was me staying home playing video games, or on the weekends, right? I think really viewing Dawn as that thing that whether you're working some other job, side hustle, you're a student, a young creator, like wherever you are in life, having Dawn be what makes you feel like you're excited to come home on a Friday night and make music instead of going to the bar or watching Netflix or going on your phone. Kind of really like having that experience centered around it, right? And so through that, like challenges, partnerships, all these things that drive that, but really kind of centered around that emotion.
Yeah. And I think for me, just opening up these different pathways for accessibility, right? You look at the stereotypical producer and it's a middle-aged white man. What would it look like to open up new avenues to bring more women into production, to bring folks from other countries more into production, and build out industries that can work with the US market to really just expand the potential of the DAW market globally?
Gotcha. Yeah, well, it's funny you brought up the woman situation. We actually, the last guest we had was, he advocates for women playing trumpets.
Yep.
Women can play trumpets
yeah,
too.
girls play trumpets.
Yeah, girls play
Yep,
trumpets too.
I love them, yeah.
So, we were talking about how it's definitely a male-driven industry, and you don't see many women producers. You don't see many women engineers, mixing, mastering engineers, live sound engineers. You don't see a lot of, you see a lot of women songwriters and a lot of women artists.
Right.
But I feel like across the spectrum, you don't really see it. So if that can help blend any of that,
100%.
it would be great.
It's all about exposure and making people feel comfortable and limiting the barriers and the lines of how producers view another producer. So.
Absolutely. Do you guys work with the Recording Academy at all, or?
We've done some work with them.
Yeah.
Reed Wick is fantastic.
Yeah, Reed's great.
He's
Yeah,
great.
Yeah. He's coming later.
Oh, we love that.
Yeah,
Tell him we say hi.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've done some work with them. Last year, I was able to work on a really cool project, partly with the Recording Academy, and then another producer. Her name was Maria Paula. And basically just had during Jazz Fest some Colombian artists kind of come in and do a cross recording album with some local jazz artists. So really tapping into this genre fusion, blending, and just again trying to open up new avenues of connection for folks
Absolutely.
abroad in here.
Absolutely. Well, where I think you guys could be really great is schools is, that eighth grade to high school like connection. Because I mean, I feel like especially nowadays, everybody's got Logic on their Mac or GarageBand, so everybody kind of feels like they want to do music. I'm on the board of a charter school in Florida. That's all entertainment based. They have a full sound stage on set, and they book out their stage to real productions, and then they let the kids be the hands. So
Wow.
they're not only learning, but they're learning real world experience type of thing, and then they've actually have some credits for their job when they graduate. They can actually like put that on their resume that they've done some real production work.
Yeah.
So it all works, but they actually brought me on board to help with the music side because they're still using Pro Tools 10. Okay, at the school.
Man.
So yeah, that's a big laugh.
Yeah.
You can't even update it anymore. So the goal was to bring in some new age modern technology, including Dolby stuff and all that stuff to teach on. But I feel like this would be a great tool to use because the kids don't have to pick one DAW. They can kind of gravitate toward what speaks to them.
Yeah. No, honestly, definitely want to follow up about that because, I mean, I think we're really, excited about pilots like that where we can see like, okay, in this specific context, like what does this, because again, we really see our tool as that, like an infrastructure, right? And so it can be adapted in whatever way. Like if you need it for an educational context, again, like how can our infrastructure help support it so that students are learning or getting a lot out of it, but they're also having fun and feeling like there's that structure of progress around it. And then, honestly, even because again, we've been doing a lot of the university work and trying to build out that kind of cross university network,
Right.
but haven't yet really started to expand into like some of the younger age demographics, but would definitely see a lot of potential there.
Yeah, well, I think learning from people who are actually doing things too is
Right.
That's how you truly learn.
Right.
There are things that the education system has to catch up on that people who are actually working in the industry are already doing.
Right.
So I feel like that's where you really get up to speed of how things are moving.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. What are your feedback from your users so far?
Yeah. So we just this last month, as I mentioned, we run these kind of monthly. We call them seasons. The idea is to model it after what video games do with like a battle pass or a season pass. We basically changed the rewards. There's these like characters and things that you unlock through playing. So we just last month changed the structure of kind of our game into more of a role playing RPG style game. And that creators are really, really enjoying. So some of the feedback we've been getting around that is just there's a lot more flexibility around this kind of like meeting creators where they're at. And so it used to be like everyone was competing on the same like leaderboard or game. Now some of what we offer is based on what you're looking to grow in or get or kind of ultimately experience through our community. You kind of select a different path almost, and that's where you're then able to progress, kind of grow that character. And so one of them is focused around collaboration and growing your network connections. The other one's more for people looking for like beat battles, challenges, competitions. And then the last one's more around like feedback and building consistency. But it's been really cool to see, both hear like the qualitative feedback of people, again, really loving that new structure, that kind of like flexibility, personalization. And then also seeing like the unspoken feedback of, at the end of the month, whoever the top earning creator is gets an actual cash payout. And so like this last month, it was like the last 3-4 days and someone was like in second below the second. It was like they earned more points in those last 3 days than they had all month because they were like, oh, I need to make sure I'm getting on this to play. I need to get my XP. Seeing some of that, like, okay, cool, this is helping.
So it's
people.
working, in that sense. It's getting people to use it and stay on it.
Right, exactly, yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of really like the core idea is like keeping people making music that are already falling in love with it. Already, the tool's already making it so accessible. like you said, like GarageBand is on every Mac, right?
Right.
Or like FL, like people are downloading cracked versions of that,
Right.
right? So like, okay, cool. Once you're in the door, how do we make sure that you don't drop off after some few months, a few years, because you don't feel like it's going anywhere, right? Like, how do we help you build that consistency through that?
Absolutely. Has any DAWs reached out to you or acted like they wanted to participate, or did they not like you at all?
We haven't yet talked
Yeah.
to.
I feel like we haven't made an intentional like outreach effort to chat with some of these dogs.
'Cause I don't know if you're a friend or an enemy.
And I
Right.
don't
can't
think,
tell.
and I think we're waiting for them to determine that.
Okay,
So
I got you.
Yeah.
You're a frenemy.
we're
Right,
frenemy.
right.
What's the
Yeah.
saying? Keep your friends
Close
close
to
to your
your
enemies closer. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, listen, when you have the power of the people and the social tool,
Right.
they're gonna want you.
Right.
At that point.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's this other founder that we've worked with that does some similar stuff around the like remote playing and performance, but less integrated into the DAWs. And they had pointed out something that they were saying that like each DAW has a very different user base, has a very or like type of creator, has a very different like desire of what they're trying to get out of that. And so I think even like I heard that back in March and have already started to see like like the CEO of FL came out and said like, yeah, we're getting these 30,000 downloads a day, but we're losing creators. And we're not losing creators to other DAWs. We're losing creators to video games, to social media, to Netflix. Like it's that attention economy. And so I think even hearing some of these industry leaders frame it not as like we're combating with Studio One or with Reason or Pro Tools, and more like as an industry, we're losing creators that are coming in, are excited, but then are leaving because they just stopped making music altogether. I think that's what we're really seeing especially with the pivot, as more of a potential collaboration with these DAWs.
Right.
It's like we're not pushing your creators to other DAWs or anything. We're just helping them stay engaged so that that creator that joined you at 20 is still making music using FL at 25, 30, at 35, whatever it looks like.
Right.
And then the only connection that we have had is through one of our investors on their board, Jim Odom, who obviously had founded PreSonus. So he's been a really good contact,
I
like
was
really
gonna
great
say,
mentor.
Studio One needs help with expanding. And I had been talking to PreSonus about putting Studio One in the schools, and giving everybody a copy so that like a student version type of copy, so that they can get used to using it. And my pitch to them was, when they're buying Apple products, they're already getting Logic. So Logic's got you beat. So you're going to have to somehow engage the kids to get there. So you got to start at the schools. If you start in schools and then they're used to using you, they're going to keep using you when they get out of school for the most part.
Right.
Or at least be a part of your community at that point.
Right.
So that was my pitch to those guys.
Yeah. No, I think like you said, like it's rare to see someone switch DAWs, right? Like once they get comfortable with it, barring like Pro Tools.
Well, I don't know. So I'll give you my journey. 'Cause I started on Logic, and but I was at the point where I was taking my stems and putting them in Pro Tools to mix. So I was using both programs, but I couldn't record or produce anything in Pro Tools at that point. I was doing all of that work in Logic and just mixing in Pro Tools. But then I got bored with Logic, and I needed a change. So like I went to Ableton to try it, and I couldn't figure it out. And then I was like, man, this isn't for me. And a friend of mine told me to try Reason. I tried Reason, same thing. So just randomly, I had a random session. He was using Studio One. I was like, what's that? And it says Studio One, man. You gotta try it. And I'm looking, I'm like, it's like a perfect blend of Logic and Pro Tools. It's like, I like that. So I was in Studio One for 4 years. Then I got bored of Studio One. So now I'm back in Logic and I love it. But Logic made a lot of changes in those times that I was a part of Studio One. So now when I'm in Logic, I feel like I'm where I wanted to be. But because I felt like Logic was still learning. They were not a music company.
Right.
They were a tech company trying to be a music situation. So I feel like you jump around a little bit, but there are also guys that just stick in Like I got friends that produce in Pro Tools. I was like,
I don't know
I don't know
produce in
how
Pro
you
Tools. I'm
do
gonna be
that.
honest. Yeah.
The workflow would just I mean, just the routing alone would get me off my creation process.
Right, right.
You know, but
Yeah.
hey, they do it and seamlessly. You
Right,
know?
right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, if you make it work, you make it work.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But it's funny how different mindsets gravitate to different DAWs.
Right, yeah.
And the reasoning behind, like, I feel like you were like, I was bored, so then I switched. I was bored, so then I switched. And I think a lot of what we're focusing on is how do we make making music fun again?
Right.
Because you just have this influx of like new tools, and now with AI being thrown into the mix,
Right.
it's kind of like, okay, where does the creator actually fit in the process
Right.
anymore? And I think we've kind of lost that.
100%.
You know?
Well, I keep saying the only thing that AI can't not replicate is live music.
Yeah.
So, or one of the few things anyway. So that type of creator experience is definitely something that it can't recreate.
Right.
And getting bored is me sitting in the room by myself,
Exactly.
going over a kick drum 1,000 times, trying to figure out which kick to use. And at some point, they all sound the same, and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. Why am I here?
Right.
Then
You
you're
know?
sleeping, hearing a kick in the back.
Yeah, and then even the color of the screen is aggravating me at this point. Like I need a whole change.
Right,
you know?
right.
Right.
So it gets to that moment. So, but maybe if I was creating with other people in those moments, that maybe I wouldn't have gotten bored.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
the
You
best
know.
inspiration is from other people.
Right.
So
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially when you can connect to people from other countries.
exactly.
You know, other experiences. Both
Yeah.
of you guys have culture from other places, so it's you know, I always respect that part. You know, I feel like you truly can't appreciate where you're from until you go somewhere else and understand, you know, the nuances and the differences.
Yeah.
So same in a social experience over a group or a blog or you know, or a network like you're talking about, like just even having a conversation with somebody in a different country can give you a lot of insight.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know?
Yeah, no, 100%. We early on when we were doing a lot of testing with the collaboration tool, one creator that we had testing it was like, "Oh, I love," or I think we asked them like why they collaborate, and they were like, "It's almost this idea that like you can't tickle yourself." Where like it's like you by collaborating or working with someone will reach ideas that you couldn't possibly have reached by yourself, right? Like, and
100%.
it's not a matter of like I think that's where in the AI conversation, like it's a great productivity tool, but sometimes, especially with something like music, it's not about how quickly can I do this, because I could do it as quickly as possible. I'm still not going to get to that idea that I would have gotten to if I did it this other way,
Right.
even if it took you know however much longer.
It's
or whatever
the
it
whole
like.
tree fall in the woods type of situation. Does it make noise? No one's there to hear it. Like if I speak out an idea and no one bounces it back at me, I don't know if it's good or not, or I couldn't go somewhere else with that idea. You know, so it's definitely that type of feeling.
Yeah, and it's what creators crave. I mean, you
Right.
look at the whole pirate radio concept of just like how there was like this genre blending in Europe of like immigrants coming into these European countries, hacking over radio stations to play these different beats and sounds from their home. And then all of a sudden you have this new merging of house music,
Right.
you know, and it's just like that's what creators need to stay consistent.
100%.
And that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, 100%. Well, we don't have DJs anymore to help us with that, right?
That-
right.
Oh, jeez, yeah.
So,
Another podcast.
But well, that's great. Well, is there a future vision you guys want to expand on or talk about a little bit, or?
Maybe this summer. I feel like we're being a startup. You kind of think like in chunks of time, and
Yeah.
so future is the next 3 months for us right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so we are launching a summer camp for producers that we're really excited about. Kind of the whole concept of how to get your first 1,000 listens. And so we are going to be offering master classes around marketing, around branding, how to make your own assets if you don't have a team, and then throughout continuous challenges to keep people inspired and making music together. But the exciting part is that we're going to invite a select few of those people participating in the summer camp to then our in-person cross-state producer camp in August.
Gotcha.
And so that's where we see some in-person magic really happen cross-DAW.
Awesome.
So yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'll tack onto that. We're also doing kind of tangential to that. So, because I would kind of put like what we do now in these three buckets. Two of that I think we've talked about a lot, like the kind of learning, you know, masterclass side of things. Then there's the gamification, like here's how you're staying consistent, you know, outside of just that aspect. And then we have done occasionally like beat battles and more competitions, things like that. So back in March, we did this competition kind of around March Madness. Producers seem to love it. Like we're just basically had a bunch of people submit some tracks, did like a bracket style tournament, had people on Instagram voting. And so we haven't announced it yet, but we're planning a thing around the Club World Cup that's happening here in the US.
Okay.
And so kind of like a producer World Cup where we'll be assigning different producers a different country. They'll have to make a song either in the genre or like style of that country. And then, yeah, again, just kind of competing against each other.
Awesome.
And also having some of the winners from that be invited into the camp.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. I like that idea. I think that's great. That's great creation collaboration right there.
Yeah,
100%.
right.
That's exhilarating euphoria through creative collaboration right
is.
there. If I had to put it in a sentence, that's where that would be.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great. Well, thanks for coming today, and I appreciate the conversation. I did want to ask you how you felt about Elation and what do you think this building does for the city?
Yeah, no, I mean, I love it every time I've come in here, and it's been cool to see the development of it. Like, I think, when we first came in, y'all were still building out a lot of the different studios. I think the last time I got the tour, it was crazy to just see like all of the different studios and rooms, and I think that blend of like music, creative studio space, but then also there's businesses working out of here. It's still like a workspace, productivity kind of space. I feel like New Orleans doesn't really have that. Like,
Yeah.
I think that there's music studios, sure, and then there's co-working spaces, but there isn't really anything that kind of blends that. And yeah, I think that's super cool. And then honestly, these types of opportunities where it's like, yeah, it seems like y'all want to be that hub of also like uplifting other things that are happening in the city or in New Orleans. And then obviously the Dolby.
The Dolby was pretty badass. Yeah. No, and I appreciate that. And I think we have a lot of the same thought process. I mean, what the collaboration in this building is meant to do is that same thought process of, I'm producing in this room, but there's a meeting going on in the conference room right now about marketing, and maybe I can talk to somebody that can help me with my marketing.
Yeah,
And, it's those kind of opportunities that happen in major labels and major studios outside of New Orleans.
Yeah.
When you're in Sony building, you can run into anybody that can help you, and they're willing to talk, they're willing to give information, and that's just not something that you see down here.
Yeah.
No.
So if we can create that community that's all working together, doing the same type of movement, motion, and working in the same space, we can all help lift each other up.
Yeah.
Definitely. And in a way that doesn't feel forced.
Correct.
Like, I think that seeing y'all pop up really organically in these different spaces around the city has been really cool. Like, even just coming in today. And
Right.
I do work with a nonprofit journalism org here as well. And we do work with y'all too.
Right.
And so it's these different facets of my life that it's like completely different work, but it's not.
But
It's connected.
not.
Right.
Absolutely.
And so it's really beautiful to see kind of a hub that is like providing these services to these different community orgs that are trying to do good, impactful work and have kind of that support network behind them to actually get it done.
Awesome. I appreciate that. No, and I listen, I'm born and raised here. So like I literally moved from I was here, but when I was in LA 9 years, I moved back here to build something we don't have.
Yeah.
And so I appreciate that, because I truly believe that if we all pull together and create a movement, that it will be undeniable and we'll have our next 10-year run, which comes in cycles, but we're ready for our 10-year run right now. I'm ready for it. So, well, great. Well, thank you guys for coming today, and I appreciate it. You want to tell the people where you can get some socials for your stuff and start using Dawn.
So you can find us on Instagram at dawn.audio.
Yep. And our Discord, if you're trying to join, you can just go to daw.network through Google, or look up Dawn Audio, and you'll be able to learn a little bit more about what we do there.
And we're on TikTok now. So check us out on TikTok. Let us know what we're doing wrong.
Another platform, right? Whole different mindset.
Right.
We think we're hilarious, but I don't know.
You never know till you put it out there, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great, guys. Thanks so much.
Thanks so
and
much.
Thank you guys for joining us today. If you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe to the page, and see you next time.